Good day, folks. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today we have with us Khubaib Samer. Came to Canada in 2019, first time, then eventually came back in 2020. Supply chain professional. Without having me to introduce him, we'll get started. So, Khubaib, if you can get started by telling us a little bit about yourself first.
Thank you for having me, Saad bhai. So, as you already introduced, I am a supply chain professional, but by education, I'm a mechanical engineer. I graduated in 2009. That sounds like a long time ago now. Uh, my supply chain career started with Procter Gamble Pakistan. Then I was in Middle East for about 10 years. I was working with a PNG JV partner called Abu Daud Group. Spent most of my time in Bahrain and the Kurdish region of Iraq. I got my immigration in May 2019, landed here in June same year, stayed here for a couple of months, went back, and then permanently moved to London, Ontario in February of 2020.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you're saying something? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was one of the lucky ones who managed to land a job before making the permanent move. Probably you know that already. Thanks to you, actually. You had a big role to play in that as well. Networking, preparation, along with support and prayers from a long list of people, all of that. Timing really worked in my favor there. This opportunity popped up exactly when we decided to make a permanent move to Canada. And thanks to the communications ecosystem that you have developed, I got to know about this position as soon as it appeared. I'm working with a original cakery here. It's one of the largest frozen desserts manufacturer in the continent.
That's amazing. So, regarding your role in the industry and in the company that you are, how does that play out?
So I'm responsible for supply chain planning, which is basically supply and demand planning, forecasting, part of production planning as well, inventory planning mostly, not management. I am responsible for the Canadian manufacturing facilities. We have one here in London, one in Delta, BC. These constitute about 70-75% of the total business.
That's interesting. With those, I think that in the supply chain, for example, those folks who are planning to move to Canada and want to pursue supply chain as a career, what is your recommendation to them?
So a couple of things here, especially for the folks in supply chain planning. COVID has presented an opportunity for people like us who are able to perform their jobs remotely and are planning to planning to migrate to Canada. We can basically be anywhere in the world and perform our job duties. So every person has a different situation, but I would suggest assess your situation and see if you can leverage that to make a smoother transition to Canada. What I mean by that is maybe you can keep your current job, move to Canada, and keep working while you land a job here. This will firstly reduce the stress of job search. You'll be able to support yourself, your family, and have a much better planned move to Canada in general.
Yeah, in terms of certification, at least in our domain in IT, there's a lot of play with the certifications, and it makes a lot of sense. But in supply chain, what do you recommend, and how does it pan out?
So, of course, there are many certifications in the supply chain field. A lot of them are offered by the ASEM American Society for Supply Chain Management, and then a few ones from the Canadian Supply Chain Association as well. I got my CSCP, Certified Supply Chain Professional, last year. Then you have CPIM, many others. I cannot list all of them right now. But one thing you have to understand is that those certifications will complement your experience, and you will most probably be hired or given be able to score a job based on your experience and how you present yourself. Your certification alone would not be enough to land you a job.
That's a good insight, for sure.
One thing I noticed when talking to colleagues and other new immigrants is we tend to not completely understand the employee requirements. So we have to understand what exactly the employer or the employers are looking for and address those needs in resumes and cover letters. Of course, there's a lot of content available online how to do that.
Perfect. Makes sense. Thank you so much, Khubaib, for taking the time out today and talking about supply chain. And hopefully in the future, we'll also reach out to you for a more detailed session. But at least this gives the opportunity for folks to understand and your journey and what you are involved in. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you very much, Salbhai. Thank you for having me.